Local 4 News starts now with a breaking news alert.
Breaking tonight in Auburn Hills, police issue an endangered missing persons advisory for a 1-month-old little girl. Take a look at your screen. Investigators are looking for Eliza Prowell Smith.
She was last seen Friday at an apartment complex on South Boulevard. Police believe the infant is with her mother, Amanda Prowell Smith, who has a documented mental status. There are concerns the child may be in danger. Take a good look there. If you have any information on their whereabouts, call Auburn Hills Police or Crime Stoppers. That number to Crime Stoppers is 1-800-SPEAK-UP. Our other top story, the first day of deliberations is over and no verdict, but 2 questions which give insight, according to experts, about what's going on inside the jury room. After a full day behind closed doors, the jury has yet to decide if Jennifer Crumbley will be the first parent in America convicted in connection with her teenager carrying out a school shooting. Thanks for joining us. I'm Kimberly Gill.
And I'm Damon Fernandez. The jury, made up of 6 men and 6 women, will be back at it in the morning. As Mara McDonald shows us, legal experts say the questions those jurors are asking are rather telling.
So the jury came back, and the first time around, asking the judge basically this question: what does it take for us to find Jennifer Crumbley guilty? Do we need to agree with both prosecutors' theories, one of which is gross negligence, the other which is essentially failure to act? Judge told them no, they can do either or, and jurors don't have to agree on which theory they're convicting on. We asked Bill Barnwell if he was sitting in the chair defending Crumbley, what it would tell him about where the jury is.
So it very well could just be that the jurors are trying to figure out, what are we supposed to decide? What is the basis of our decision? You might have certain jurors in there that are leaning one way or the other, maybe based on one theory or the other, or you might have a jury that eventually is going to come back with an acquittal. The second question they asked is whether jurors could infer anything from the shooter not testifying. The answer from the judge, a resounding no. They can only consider evidence which was presented. In her closing remarks, Crumbley's attorney tried to portray her as every mom and that any one of them could be in her shoes, going so far as telling the jury her own son could walk out of their house with a knife and kill someone, and she'd have no idea it was coming. That's been a central tenet in this trial. Prosecutors say Jennifer Crumbley was grossly negligent in allowing her son access to a gun and failing to take the most basic steps to help him because it was clear he was struggling. The defense, meanwhile, says she had no idea how bad off her son was and had no way of knowing it either. Crumbley has taken no responsibility for her son's actions or her parenting. But if this was a slam dunk case for them to convict, they would have done it by now. If it was a slam dunk case for them to quit, they would have done it. But I still think that the defendant has a good chance of being acquitted.
Why does Barnwell see the possibility of an acquittal? Simply because this has never been tried before, and it's a pretty hefty climb for prosecutors. We are at the Oakland County Courthouse in Pontiac. I'm Mara McDonald, Local 4.
And we will continue to have special coverage of this trial, including reaction to the verdict as soon as it comes in on Local 4 Plus and clickondetroit.com. Now, if you have Local 4 Plus, if you don't have it, you can find it on your TV's home screen. Well, last week we brought you the story of a Detroit mother desperately searching for her son.
All Tamika Fairley knew at the time was that her son, Germaine Fairley, had been shot. She spoke with Local 4's Pamela Osborne in hopes that our viewers could help find him. Well, the tips came in, and on Friday, a body was found in a sewer on the city's west side on Sussex Street and Tyler Avenue. Over the weekend, the Fairleys got the heartbreaking confirmation that Germaine was gone. Pamela Osborne is live at police headquarters tonight after speaking with the family. Pamela.
Kimberly, they are really just taking things one day at a time, and despite suffering this incredible loss, they did want to come together and say thank you to everyone who saw their story, who called in with tips to police. Those tips they feel like help police find Germaine.
I thank them for being brave enough to come across and say, hey, this was wrong. We know where he at.
Tamika Fairley says without the public's help, Germaine's body may not have been found.
We received an anonymous tip that he could possibly be in a sewer in that area, which that's what led us, our detectives and our canine, searching in that area.
At 2 o'clock Friday afternoon in a sewer, they found a body and a gun. A day later, Tamika learned it was the body of her 28-year-old son.
He was fun. He loved his kids. You know, he always had the kids around. He liked to hang out. I mean, he was just young and full of life.
She still has questions about how his life ended. She knows Germaine had attended a funeral and a repast January 27th before visiting a home on Wildermere in Puritan. Police say there was a fight and reports that the 28-year-old father of 5 had been shot in the head.
You took a father, a brother, an uncle. You took my son. For what? For nothing.
Tamika's at a loss, trying to figure out what to tell his kids, most of whom are too young to understand. Police say they've identified 2 persons of interest, but no one's in custody yet. Tamika is hoping for justice.
They should spend the rest of their life in jail. The only difference between them is I don't wish death on them.
And the Fairley family could still really use your help. They tell me that Germaine was a gunshot victim when he was a teenager. Doctors were unable to remove that bullet, and that created problems with him being able to get a life insurance policy. So the family has started a GoFundMe account. They're hoping that anyone who is able may be able to help them lay him to rest. Reporting live tonight, I'm Pamela Osborne, Local 4.
Okay, Pamela, thank you. Arab American leaders calling on the Wall Street Journal to retract the controversial opinion piece about Dearborn.
Yeah, the executive director of the Middle East Media Research Institute wrote the article titled "Welcome to Dearborn." Stephen Stalinsky says he wanted to draw attention to protests in Michigan and elsewhere. He says some demonstrators have expressed support for the terror group Hamas. Critics say protesters are demanding a ceasefire and supporting Palestinians caught in the crossfire.
We're asking that the Wall Street Journal take an immediate retraction, apologize to not only this community, but to all its readers.
Inflammatory rhetoric like this is a direct contributor to the wave of Islamophobic violence our community has had to endure.
Today, Stalinsky sent us a statement standing by his article saying in part, quote, "The main point of my article is that it is a fact that there is support inside Dearborn, out in the open, in marches in front of the community center and in major mosques of the October 7th attack." Well, local political leaders are trying to pass a water affordability bill that will create new protections against shutoffs.
A coalition of local political leaders say low-income residents should be able to maintain service with monthly bills limited to no more than 3% of their income. The group hopes new legislation would support those residents and the municipal water systems that serve them. The legislation would establish a monthly user-fee on residential bills, similar to existing programs for utility customers. Detroit State Senator Stephanie Chang says this is the right thing to do.
The statewide water affordability legislation is not only the moral thing to do for Michiganders who are struggling to make ends meet, it is also the smart thing to do for the financial stability of our water systems, and it's the right thing to do to protect our public health.
We'll keep you posted on how the bill fares in Lansing. Another Metro Detroit theater has closed its doors for good.
Yeah, the owners of the Maple Theater in Bloomville Township posted news about the closing on social media. They say after months of difficult deliberations, they've decided it's time to move on and let their lease expire. The future of the theater is now unclear. The Maple says membership info will be transferred to Imagine. All right, let's get a check of the weather right now. A live look downtown Detroit. It's clear now, but fog we see is moving in.
Yeah, runs in for Kim Adams tonight. We're talking about freezing fog for when we wake up.
That's a possibility. And if you were watching last night at this time, we had a freezing fog advisory. That is not the case for tonight, but it's still a possibility. Looking over downtown Detroit as well as looking toward southwest Detroit and toward downriver communities. We have temperatures right now coming in around 34 degrees in Detroit, Ann Arbor, Port Huron at 35, and Monroe. We do have the chance of some drizzle out there and some mist in a few locations, but the patchy freezing fog will be the concern in the few places that it develops because there will be the chance of a few slick spots out there. So the sky conditions right now, we are cloudy. Waking up tomorrow, still cloudy. Some of that patchy fog out there. And then we'll have decreasing clouds as we get into the late morning hours and the early afternoon with temperatures getting into the lower 40s. So here are your headlines right here. We're going to talk more about the patchy fog as well as near record warmth coming later on this week. And as that happens, we also have rain coming our way. We'll talk about your full 7-day forecast coming up.